What is your country of birth?
Italy.
How old are you?
72.
When were you born?
The 1st of the 4th, 51.
What was a childhood memory?
My trip from Trieste to Australia on a steamship. It took approximately 8 weeks, and we all slept in a dormitory on the boat, which was about 20 people in one room. It was very crowded, very unhealthy, but that was the sacrifice we had to make.
Were there any struggles?
Well, the struggles were the war had finished in Italy, and that's why we come to Australia. There was poverty everywhere. There was no work for my father. He was asked by the Australian government to come to Australia and work as an engineer.
What was a major event in your life?
My major event would be starting to become a dental technician, which I took on an apprenticeship with a mentor that my father and mother introduced me to. He was a migrant also, and he came to Australia with his brother, and they were twins. One was called Primo and one was called Secondo, which is first and second born. And one was a dental technician, very, very talented, and taught me a lot of things and made me what I am today.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your family, the rest of your family?
Yes, my grandparents on one side, my father's parents, he worked for the railways, and during the war he was very, very prominent in the railways, and he used to work and bring home food for the little township that we lived in, because it wasn't a very big township then. And then also my other grandfather, he was on a navy ship and a cargo ship, and he used to work on that.
What was it like for them when they got to Australia?
Well, it was very hard to get my grandmother on my mother's side to Australia. We had a lot of problems with immigration because she had throat cancer and they wouldn't let her come. So we went to Sir Arthur Calwell, which was a politician, and he created us a pass, which we call a visa, and got her to Australia for us. And he came to our home in those days. And we were very lucky to bring my grandparents over. Yeah, on my father's side, they didn't come.
Did you have a favourite place to go in your childhood?
Well, I was touring, when I was young, I was touring everywhere all the time. My mother and father always took me away, anywhere. With the car, we'd go cruising. I was an only child, so it was easy for them. And we used to go to Central Australia a lot, whereas we actually moved to Central Australia for over a year to run a garage in the middle of Coobapedy. And that was in 1970. So that was hardly anybody there. It was like the Wild West.
What was school like?
Well, school was very difficult because there was a language barrier for starters. I had to become able to speak English, and then we had a lot of problems with what I used to wear to school. The kids would laugh at me because they weren't proper clothes, that clothes were European, and European clothes were totally different to the Australian clothes. And so that took a lot of getting through, and there was a few people there, but I used to play a lot of sport. I was very good at my sport, very good at football, and very good at running. And one of the boys at school was he was a peer really. He was the fastest runner in the school, and I was the second fastest, and that's in the whole school, and there's no way I could beat him.
Can you tell me about your Italian community in Australia?
Yes, the Trieste Club was in Ascot Vale, Essendon, and in those days there were no credit unions, so we all used to meet at a cafe in Ascot Vale Union Road, and everybody would go there on the weekends and just have their little coffees and everything, but they'd take money off everybody and they'd bank it for us, and because we were migrants, we didn't know what was going on. But we had our own credit union which helped us save money, and they used to go guarantors on loans and stuff like that, because we were a very tightly knit community. And my parents often mortgaged their house for other people to start their own business. And that's the way it was. We were very close. Yes, and when my parents bought a house that I still have today, it was only a handshake because we had boarders. We had 8 boarders in our house, and there was full board, breakfast, lunch and dinner, all the washing and everything my mother used to do, and she used to run a boarding house in this house. And then they went back to Italy, one of the boarders, and said, would you like to buy the house? Yes, we would. So my dad said yes and took over the house with a handshake, no contracts, nothing. And my dad paid the house off in 5 years.
And go.
What was a family gathering like in your home?
Well, everybody we knew, if my mum said we had to be there, we had to be there. She was like, a regiment. She'd say, you're coming, you're coming, you're coming, and you're going to be there on that time, that hour, and the Italians had to gather and be there, no matter who it was. And don't bring any food because all the food will be supplied, and that's how my mother was. And she was very strong-willed and told everybody what to do all the time. When I was young, like on my 21st birthday, she said, we have it in the house. She invited 20 people on a round table in my place and had my 21st birthday, all my friends and everything. We had it in the house. And she sort of created a table going around the walls.